Can someone else awaken your Kundalini? According to the internet, absolutely. According to the Instagram, apparently every third guru can do it. Just video call your workshop coordinator, repeat her newly constructed self-help mantras, close your eyes, take a deep breath, and you got it. You've been told your Kundalini has been initiated. And if you've spent even a few minutes searching for Kundalini online, you've probably seen comments like, "My body started shaking. I felt electricity running through my spine. I cried for 3 hours. I saw bright lights. My Kundalini awakened instantly." It sounds fascinating, but if that's true, if another person can awaken your Kundalini in a few sessions, then what were ancient yogis even doing? Were they making spiritual life unnecessarily difficult? Or are we confusing an intense spiritual experience with something much bigger? Because the interesting thing is, when you start reading the oldest yogic texts, the conversation becomes far more complicated than social media makes it seem. Some traditions clearly speak about something called shaktipat, the descent of spiritual power or grace. But other texts barely mention any external awakening at all. Certain tantric texts, such as Kolarnava Tantra, place extraordinary importance on the guru and even discuss shaktipat. But if you open the Hatha Yoga Pradipika or the Yoga Kundalini Upanishad, you'll notice the Hatha Yoga Pradipika never says that Kundalini can simply be awakened by another person's touch. Instead, it repeatedly explains practices such as asana, pranayama, mudra, and bandha as the means for awakening Kundalini. Even Patanjali takes a completely different approach. In the Yoga Sutras, liberation is grounded in abhyasa and vairagya and not external transmission. So which approach is right? Can another human being actually awaken the most powerful spiritual force inside your body? This is not an opinion video, we are going to go through ancient yogic texts. Because if there's one topic that's surrounded by misunderstanding, it's this one. What exactly do people mean when they say, "My Kundalini awakened"? Because the answer isn't as obvious as it sounds. Imagine someone tells you, "I awakened my Kundalini yesterday." Your first reaction is probably, "What happened?" Maybe they'll say, "My body started shaking." Or, "I felt heat moving up my spine." Sometimes they'll describe waves of bliss, visions, or someone's presence. Now the question is, are these experiences actually Kundalini? Or simply experiences that happen during meditation? Because those are not necessarily the same thing. Think about it this way. If someone starts exercising after years of living a sedentary life, their muscles become sore. The soreness is real. But soreness is not the goal of exercise. It's simply one possible response of the body. The same logic applies here. Meditation, breathwork, fasting, intense devotion, emotional release, even prolonged concentration can all produce unusual physical and psychological experiences. These experiences are real. But the question is, do these experiences automatically mean the Kundalini has awakened? Because if the answer is yes, then thousands of people around the world are awakening Kundalini every single day. But if the answer is no, then we need to understand what ancient yogis actually meant by the word Kundalini. And this is where many modern discussions begin to fall apart. Because today, Kundalini is often treated like a spiritual fireworks show. If your body didn't shake, you didn't cry, you didn't see a blue light, or at least feel something in your spine, then apparently nothing happened. But when you look at the classical yogic traditions, they describe Kundalini as a fundamental force connected to the entire process of spiritual transformation. Which means, for ancient yogis, awakening Kundalini was never the final goal. Their real aim was to realize their true nature. Kundalini was understood as part of the journey, not the destination. They weren't chasing extraordinary experiences, they were seeking a lasting transformation in the way they lived. And if that's true, then awakening Kundalini simply cannot be reduced to, "I felt energy in my spine." Now, where did this idea of someone else awakening your Kundalini even come from? Because yoga wasn't created by one person. It developed over many centuries. Different schools approach the same goal in different ways. The Kolarnava Tantra discuss shaktipat, an indispensable role of the guru. But even there, initiation is not presented as a substitute of the disciple's own sadhana. That's where much of today's discussion begins. But before we even get to shaktipat, there's one misunderstanding we have to clear up. Because it's changing the way people approach spirituality. Today, many people are looking for someone who can do the spiritual work for them, someone who can awaken them, remove their karma, open their chakras, raise their consciousness. After all, who will want years of effort compressed into a single moment? But ask yourself something. If lasting spiritual transformation could simply be transferred from one person to another, Why do the ancient texts repeatedly talk about discipline and purification? Why do they insist on self-control? Because the answer isn't simply yes or no. It's much more interesting than that. Instead of asking, can someone awaken your Kundalini? Let's first ask something even more basic. What exactly is Kundalini? Because it's surprisingly difficult to answer. Ask 10 different people, you'll probably get 10 different answers. Someone will say it's energy. Someone else will call it divine feminine power. Another person will say it's your highest consciousness. Someone will tell you it's electricity inside the spine. However, almost all of them will agree on one important point. Kundalini is not something you create. It's something that already exists within every human being. Think of it like this. Imagine buying a smartphone. Every phone already contains an incredibly powerful processor. Whether you use it only for phone calls or you use every advanced feature, the processor was always there. You simply learn how to access more of its potential. Ancient yogis viewed Kundalini in a somewhat similar way, as a dormant spiritual potential already present within every person, which is why many classical texts describe it as being in a sleeping state. Now think about that. If awakening Kundalini was simply a matter of receiving someone's blessing, why would the text spend so much effort preparing the practitioner first? It's a bit like learning to fly an airplane. Imagine someone tells you, forget the training, forget the controls, forget the aircraft. I'll make you a pilot by touching your forehead. It sounds absurd, because the aircraft isn't the real challenge. The person operating it is. Similarly, the obstacle wasn't Kundalini, it was whether the human system was prepared for it. Now you might be wondering, why do so many people report immediate experience after meeting certain gurus? That's a fair question, and the ancient tradition don't ignore it. In fact, some of them openly acknowledge that the presence of an accomplished teacher can have a profound effect on a disciple. Which brings us to one of the most misunderstood words in modern spirituality, shaktipat. Today, this word is presented as if it has only one meaning. Guru touches you, you awaken, end of story. But that's not actually how the classical tradition described it. The word itself literally means the descent of Shakti. It doesn't literally mean the Guru permanently awakened you. Those are not automatically the same thing. This distinction may sound subtle, but it changes the entire discussion. Because different traditions understood Shaktipat also differently. Some described it as divine grace, some described it as spiritual transmission, some treated it as beginning of a process. And surprisingly, some schools didn't consider Shaktipat sufficient on its own at all. Which means the internet's version of Shaktipat and the traditional understanding may not be identical. Take an example. Imagine two people attend the exact same spiritual gathering. Both receive the same initiation, but one person experiences intense vibration, the other feels nothing. If awakening depended only on the guru, shouldn't both have identical experiences? Ancient teachers noticed this too. That's why they repeatedly emphasize something called adhikara. You can think of it as spiritual preparedness or eligibility. It's the idea that two people may receive the same teaching but benefit from it very differently because their inner condition is different. We actually see this principle everywhere in life. Two students attend the same class, one understands everything, the other remains confused. Same teacher, different readiness. It's the same logic in spiritual growth. The teacher matters, but so does the condition of the student. And according to many classical traditions, that condition cannot simply be borrowed from someone else. It has to be cultivated. So where does that leave us? At the very least, one thing is already becoming clear. The ancient yogic traditions never reduced Kundalini awakening to a dramatic sensation or one-time spiritual event. Whether they emphasize the guru, disciplined practice, or both, they all point toward the same principle. Lasting transformation requires an equally prepared practitioner.